23rd, and the time is 7:30. Would you all, welcome to everyone for being here today. Would you all please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Okay. Linda, would you mind doing roll call?
Kiefhoffer.
Here.
DeHaven.
Here.
Spruill.
Here.
Rainey.
Here.
Yazzie.
Here.
Dobry.
Here.
And Mayor Medina is absent.
And Mayor Medina is absent.
Thank you.
Okay. At this point in time, we'll go ahead and do an approval of the agenda. Is there anything that anybody would like to add to the agenda at this point in time?
Did you want to add that one item that we discussed in the workshop?
Yes. I'd like to add the item B to number 12, and it'll be council members for Community Grants Selection Committee and backup. Okay. Do we need a motion for the approval of the agenda? Okay, can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda with that addition.
Second.
So I have a motion by Councilmember Dobry and seconded by DeHaven.
Kiefhoffer.
Aye.
Spruill.
Aye.
Yazzie.
Aye.
Dobry.
Aye.
DeHaven.
Aye.
Rainey.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay. Section 2, consent agenda. The listing under consent agenda is a group of items to be acted on with a single motion and vote. This agenda is designed to expedite the handling of limited routine matters by council. Either the public or a council member may request that an item be removed from the consent agenda at that time prior to the council's vote. And I can ask if a citizen or council member wishes to have any specific item removed from the consent agenda for discussion. So the items on the consent agenda are A, approval of the work session special meeting and regular meeting minutes of August 9th, 2022. B, approval of expenditure list for August 23rd, 2022 City Council meeting. C, approval of a renewal fermented malt beverage off-premise liquor license for Dillon Companies, LLC, DBA City Market Number 8, located at 508 East Main Street, Cortez. And D, approval of an amended application for a special event permit from Cortez Retail Enhancement Association.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay. Motion by DeHaven and second by Rainey.
DeHaven.
Aye.
Rainey.
Aye.
Dobry.
Aye.
Spruill.
Aye.
Kiefhoffer.
Aye.
Yazzie.
Aye. Thank you. All right. Section 3, public participation. There is no limit to the number of speakers, although public comments will be held to an overall time limit of 30 minutes. Speakers have a time limit of 3 minutes per person, may only speak once, and may not cede time to another commenter. Please reference the rules on the agenda. The time is 7:34. Do we have any commenters? All right. Seeing no commenters, we will move on to presentations. Today we have a presentation from Municipal Judge Beth Padilla.
Good evening. Can you hear me? I haven't come to see you in a few months. I just wanted to provide some updates about what's been happening in the municipal court and see if any of you have any questions. So first, I'd like to thank all of you for approving a training budget that I think has been in the budget for quite some time. In April, I was able to attend the Colorado Municipal Judges Association conference in Fruita, and that was very, very educational. I met quite a few colleagues that have been very helpful since that time. I also have access to the listserv, so when something comes up that I'm not familiar with or I have a new idea, I'm able to reach out to other municipal judges in the state. It is my intention that hopefully the court clerk, Ms. Odell, and I will be able to attend the conference in the fall, which is in November, and I think she's working on that now. So appreciate the opportunity to do that, and I learned a great deal from my colleagues throughout the state. We are scheduled for 2 bench trials in September. We have not had any jury trials this year. The bench trials are toward the end of the month. We'll see if those go. Obviously, that's not up to me. We have had a few juveniles in municipal court since the time that I have become the judge, which was last year. To provide you some updates as to what I'm doing for the juveniles. First, and what I think is most importantly, the juveniles are being heard separately from the adults. Although that's not required in municipal court, that is required in state court, and I think it's just best practices that we don't have young people in the courtroom at the same time as adult offenders. So those are typically held at 8:30. You may or may not hear grumbling from some of those juvenile defendants. If they are found to be guilty, I am routinely sentencing them to write essays about what they have done. So I'm getting a lot of essays about traffic violations, speeding, why we don't text and drive. And I think that that is beneficial. My concern is that if we merely sentence them to a fine, their parents pay it. And I don't know if that's really helping our young people understand the implications of their actions. So there are certainly some essays in the court file. I am hoping to actually see an increase in juveniles in municipal court. This is something that I have discussed with not only the prosecutor for combined court, but also with law enforcement here. It's my understanding, and this is just what I've been told, that historically juveniles have not been written into municipal court and instead have been sort of diverted to district court. In my experience, not only as an attorney for children for the last 10 years, but I have a degree in criminal justice, I'm concerned that we are maybe getting children overly involved in a higher level of the criminal justice system than might be necessary. Obviously, this is not up to me. It's up to law enforcement to decide where they think the case should go, but I just want council to know that I'm open to having more juveniles in the municipal court if that is what law enforcement and the prosecutors deem to be appropriate. Other updates, I am working with Mr. Coleman as well as Mr. Sanders to find out whether we can have useful public service as a sentencing option, so essentially community service. It's my understanding that we have some insurance issues that I don't fully understand, I'll tell you honestly, but those gentlemen are working through it. And so hopefully we can see if it's possible. There are also some questions about the code and what may or may not be authorized. So we're still in the very beginning steps of this process. What I would like to have happen is for individuals, for example, that are found to be guilty of trespassing or doing things in the park they shouldn't do, I'd like to be able to sentence them to clean the park, or if they've, done graffiti somewhere, that they could maybe have a way to improve upon what they've done, essentially. So I'll provide updates once I have more information. I'm continuing to sentence adults to a substance abuse evaluation when there are facts that suggest that substances are an issue. I don't have funding for that. And so I'm asking the defendants if they have Medicaid or if they have private insurance or if they have access to perhaps Indian Health Services. If they don't, I'm directing them to the appropriate agencies to obtain those services or potentially not sentencing them to an evaluation if they don't have the means to do it. I want you to all be assured that at no point am I sentencing someone to jail because they don't have the funds to do an evaluation. That has never happened. That will not happen. Instead, we're problem solving. If the evaluation hasn't occurred within the time frame, why not? What are the barriers? What are other options available to us? Ms. Odell and I have met with the grants individual for the city to see if there might be some funding available to us moving forward. And I'm hoping to potentially include that in a funding request when we do the budgets for next year. Most of our cases are substance involved. We have intoxicated people on the playground. We have intoxicated people passed out outside of businesses. That is most of what I see in municipal court. And my options are to find someone, send them to jail, or try to rehabilitate them. And so I'm trying to use what I have in order to meet the needs of our community. The final update that I have, and this is something I just broached with Ms. Odell this week, the court clerk, I'd really like to have a sign in the courtroom, perhaps at the entryway, in a few languages. And I apologize, I haven't spoken with Mr. Coleman to see if there are any legal issues with this, but my concern is that we expect an individual that does not speak English to come into the courtroom and request an interpreter in English. That doesn't make any sense to me. So I think we need to have a sign in specific languages saying there are interpreters available and you need to go speak with the court clerk in order to get an interpreter. We do have interpreters available, we use them, but it's a very awkward situation where I'm guessing whether the defendant, who often doesn't have a lawyer, understands what I'm saying. And so I think maybe a more accessible way would just to be having a sign that says there are interpreters available. My inclination would be to have that in Spanish, Ute, Navajo, and in English, indicating that there are sign language interpreters available. So I don't know if I have to get permission from Mr. Coleman or the city for that. I was just going to do it and ask for forgiveness if that is a problem. But if any of you think that's a problem, please let me know and I'll follow the appropriate channels. It just seems like it's a barrier to justice, and I think that it's a really simple thing that we could do to ensure that the people in our courtroom understand what's happening. So those are pretty much my updates. Do you have any questions?
I really like your thoughts on juveniles in the court system. So just to be clear, would some of those cases that were in the county court then be shifted to? Is that kind of the idea?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think it would be more a determination from law enforcement and the prosecutors as to where they file initially.
Okay.
And of course, it would only apply in a situation where we had that crime, right? So like
Yep.
careless driving could be a municipal court. Distribution of drugs is not going to be a municipal court.
Yeah.
So it would really have to fit with the alleged violation
Sure.
in order for it to be appropriate for municipal court. I just think that there are ways that we can educate our young people without getting them overly involved in a system that might require pretrial services or drug testing, or, you know, if you have careless driving, you may not need to be drug tested. And so I'm just very cognizant of getting young people overly involved. And so all I'm saying is that I'm open to those juvenile cases. That's really all I can say. It's up to law enforcement and the prosecutors to decide what's the appropriate court.
I think it's great to have them reflect on what they did, and you're exactly right that parents would probably be like, here's the $500 you owe or whatever. So it might be a little bit more meaningful if they have to reflect on what happened.
Some of my essays are better than others, but they're definitely taking the time to write them. There's no indication that the parents are writing the essays.
I'm a math teacher, so I apologize for the language arts teachers, but if you ever want to have them do math, I guarantee it'll be brilliant.
I'll see if I can, actually, you know, someone was just sentenced to write an essay about the implications of carrying a load while you brake and how long it takes to brake, and so maybe we'll have some math in that one.
Are you able to hear juvenile municipal ordinance violations?
Yes.
Historically, that's never happened as far as I know. Is this something brand new? Is it a new law, or is it just something we've never entertained?
I don't know what has happened historically. So there are juvenile provisions within our municipal code. And so, yes, I can do that. I don't know why that hasn't happened, or if it hasn't happened. I'm not sure.
Yeah, there was a juvenile diversion and a court, but if we could do our own municipal ordinances, it would make it so much easier and better for our community if we could have somebody be held accountable for graffiti on a wall in our local municipality.
And that would be my vision, actually. Graffiti is an important thing that you bring up and wasn't on my short list of things to address. I have been working with law enforcement to try to figure out if there are any creative solutions to the graffiti issue, and essentially just what I might be able to do in municipal court. I don't have diversion, I don't have probation, but what I would love to do, and I don't know if this will ever happen, is I would love to have a quarterly or monthly work day where those individuals that are caught doing graffiti would meet at a certain time and go clean up graffiti for the day. We would need supervision, we have insurance issues, there's a lot of things that are not ready yet to do. But I think that that could be a way to sort of restore some of the community's faith in the process, as well as hold these individuals accountable that, you know, when you do things like graffiti, that it is very damaging and takes a long time to clean up. So I don't have answers to that yet, but I'm thinking about it. I have reached out to other municipal judges to see how they handle graffiti. Most of the responses I received was a combo of a fine and useful public service, which brings me back to the useful public service that we're trying to sort through and see if that might be an option. But diversion can be more appropriate for some juveniles, and I don't have diversion. That would have to go through district court.
Thanks, Judge Padilla, for all those updates. I just have a couple questions about the substance abuse evaluations. Who typically does that, and what all does that entail? And do other cities typically cover costs for that?
I'll start with the last question. I don't know.
Okay.
I can ask the listserv to see how they handle that. What I am ordering people to do typically is they will maybe plead guilty to something and possession of alcohol in the park. I will sentence them to 3 days suspended jail on the condition of completing an alcohol evaluation within 90 days. And I let them do it wherever they want. And I tell them that. You can do it in Arizona. You can do it on the reservation if that's where you live. You can do it here. You can do it at certain organizations by phone. In no way am I endorsing any specific organization. My hope is that they will do the evaluation, and that's 1 hour that they have access to a counselor to get help if they decide they want to make another appointment. And I tell people that I'm not sentencing them to treatment. I'm not sentencing anyone to rehab. I have no funding for any of those things. I'm just saying, go talk to someone and send me proof that you did it. And if you decide that you want to continue to talk to that person, you can work through it with your counselor at that time.
Can I ask, just kind of in relation to that, have there been referrals from the court to the CIP?
No, and I've been thinking about that. I don't honestly know how to do that, so I need to figure that out.
There is a specific referral form.
Okay.
That I don't know, do you have that? No, okay, I can get it, and I can get it to you.
That would be great.
And I would say, because they can stop in whenever they're not on like a specific crisis call, they can stop in and check on people. And I guess I also want to ask if the majority of the cases that involve substances are also individuals that are experiencing homelessness.
So I'm trying to track that data. It's really hard to track. In all candor, I'd like to make an argument that we see an increase in cases once the bridge closes. That's my hope the data will show that. I don't know if it's going to show that. But yes, most of our defendants are experiencing homelessness.
Okay. And then have there been, I don't remember if I mentioned this last time you were here, but, and maybe it wasn't fully established at this point in time, but there is a local peer recovery group that has started. It's called the Wellbriety Indigenous Peer Recovery Group. Have you heard of that?
I have.
Okay, I highly recommend it. It can be for anybody who is a tribal member, and it's also for pretty much anybody who doesn't want to go through like a traditional like AA environment.
And so I am not sentencing people to do AA or NA because I honestly feel like it's sort of counterindicated to what those programs are.
Right.
But I like that we could provide that
resource.
information. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm not exactly sure how CIP can be involved. I haven't spoken to them. I would love for them to be there during dockets. I don't know if that's possible or what that looks like. So
Yeah.
that's certainly on my list.
I think there's a lot of potential just because they're so new, like that these kind of collaborations, something could come out of it.
Yeah, I agree.
And if you do track that data and there's links to the bridge closure, I know that information would be helpful to the bridge if you're willing to share that.
Absolutely. And I'll be back to talk to you all about that and what as a city we can do to potentially address that issue. I don't know if the data is very hard to track. I know Ms. Odell is trying. And finally, I would just say, the court staff is fantastic. They absolutely are a well-oiled machine. We have WebEx up and running, so we're doing virtual appearances. We've got a Durango defense attorney who's able to appear from Durango, so it's saving the city money because you're not paying him to drive here. He's able to have effective communication with the clients who are in custody. We all vacate the courtroom. We're working on potentially getting a phone in the, I think they call it the ante room. It's like this hallway area, so that potentially in custodies could talk to their attorney by phone before coming into the courtroom if the attorney's not there. But this has been a huge improvement and a ton of work on behalf of the court staff and IT to get everything up and running. So I'm incredibly grateful. Ms. Odell and Ms. M they're running the show. They just tell me where to go. So I appreciate your time today. Did you have any other questions? Okay, thank you so much.
All right, thank you so much, Judge Padilla. I really appreciate every time you come here. I feel like it's something new and innovative, and I think also every time you come here, you're presenting ways that you're trying to communicate better to the client, to the people that are coming in. So, thank you. Okay. Next item. Section 5, public hearings. There are no public hearings. Unfinished business. There's nothing under unfinished business. So next is new business. Item A, professional services contract with independent contractor Doug Roth for GIS services. And we have Brian Peckins here to present.
Good evening. The city has been contracting with Doug Roth for geographic information system services on a yearly basis since 2014. Currently, Mr. Roth works at our service center on Tuesday and Thursday afternoons and also works full-time in the GIS department for Montezuma County. For the first time since 2017, 5 years ago, Mr. Roth is proposing an increase in his hourly fees. His services include managing the computerized GIS for the city, processing development, inputting data, mapping projects, providing databases of inventories, putting together briefings, reporting on public works functions, and updating the GIS database. Funds are included in our Public Works Administration budget for contract services, and the staff recommends approving a 3-year contract for Mr. Roth at $50 per hour, which is substantially below the national and regional level for that type of service.
Okay. Any questions?
I just had a question for our attorney. Is it because this is a professional services contract that it doesn't need to be an ordinance like a normal longer-term contract, 3-year contract would be?
Yes, and we did include the non-appropriation clause, so technically it's really an annual contract that renews automatically. Okay. But yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, I just wanted to comment and second what Brian said about the salary. I do GIS work and also frequently review contracts, and this is far below what a normal rate is.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Can I hear a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve a 3-year professional services contract with Doug Roth for GIS services at an hourly rate of $50 per hour.
Second.
All right, motion by Councilmember Dobry, second by Sproul.
DeHaven,
Aye.
Rainey,
Aye.
Dobry,
Aye.
Kiefhoffer,
Aye.
Spruill,
Aye.
Yazzie.
Aye. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Next up, item B, we have the 2022 Mechanical Engineering Phase 2 and 3 Cortez Public Library and Service Center presented by Rick Smith, General Services Director.
Good evening, Madam Mayor Pro Tem, City Council. At the March 8, 2022 council meeting, City Council awarded a request for qualifications for mechanical engineering for both the library and the City Service Center and the Police Department. Phase 1 to M.E.&E Engineering out of Durango. Phase 1 has been completed and we're ready to move on to Phase 2 and 3. Phase 1 included appraisal of the building's mechanical systems, options, and budget development for the replacement of the HVAC system and controls. They met with city staff and we went through those options and have a way going forward. So the professional services contract needs to be amended to authorize ME&E to complete phases 2 and 3. In phase 2 and 3 will be programming and schematic design, development, construction drawings, bidding, and construction administration. And I broke it down per building. The library phase 2 and 3 would be $24,683, and the service center would be $25,230. So the grand total would be $49,913 for both buildings. One of the options that we're looking at is the city as doing a commodity bid for the actual equipment, the HVAC equipment, the VAVs and things like that, to do that while the schematic design is being developed. That way we can get in the pipeline for delivery. So as an example, HVAC units, if you ordered one today, they would schedule to be built in 10 months with a ship date in 11 months. So as you can see where this is going, the project's going to bleed over into 2023. But if we can get the equipment in the pipeline while the design's going on, we can hedge a month or two on the actual completion. Both projects are in the 2022 current budget, and as I just mentioned, we'll be adjusting it accordingly for the 2023 budget. The contract amendment has also been a non-appropriation clause as per budget law in Tabor, and I'd like to again thank Patrick. It's so nice you can get something done, so I'd like to thank Patrick for working on that amendment for us.
Any questions or comments at this time?
My only question was based on that, the phase 1 work that they've already done, are the already budgeted, is the already budgeted number for the 2022, that is in the 2022 budget, is that going to be enough, or will we have to expand that for the 2023 budget to complete that work?
I think if I'm following your question correctly, we'll lower portion of it, because the next item, for example, on the agenda is the roof part of this project, but we'll lower it accordingly and move it into the 2023.
No, I guess what I was asking is in the 2022 budget, we budgeted for the complete project, even though it's going to expand past 2022, but are we still going to hit those original budgeted numbers for the project? Or is it going to be more expensive?
I want to say yes, because memory serves me right, we had about $450,000 set aside. Is that correct, Drew?
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
And where this is capital, it'll push through. Sorry.
Yeah.
Where this is capital, it'll span budget years.
No, I just wanted to make sure that we weren't looking at something that we budgeted in 2022 at 450, and then maybe next year we're having to expand that by 20% or whatever. So, thank you. Yeah.
Okay, any other questions?
The HVAC system, that has to be bid out to somebody else, not to M&E, correct?
Yes, they're just an engineering company.
Okay.
In a normal process, Dennis, they would put up bids for the provider to do the equipment and the install. What we're doing this time is trying to get ahead of the game, ordering equipment so we have it at least in the pipeline, and then the installers. And we've worked out with the manufacturer that it won't have no effect on the warranty side of that or support on the back end.
Gotcha. I'm a little concerned about our bidding process. I don't know if our specifications are too strenuous or what, but we're only getting 1 or 2 bids on projects. And I just want to make sure that we're getting the bids that we, across more than one bid.
The next item up, I think addresses that. We had 3 people at the walkthrough, mandatory walkthrough, qualified bidders for the roofing.
Yep, that's exactly what I was after.
And we got 1 bid. For this project that we're speaking to right now, we had to do 2 bid processes to find a mechanical engineer that would, they're so busy, it took us two rounds of bidding to get 1 bidder for engineering. They have schools and all these other projects going, and it's tough.
Right now, it's tough to get a bidder. Yeah, okay. That's a concern, because there was a time that you could get 3, 4, 5 bids on one job, and then we could pick and choose who we wanted, but now we're getting 1 bid, and that's concerning.
Yes, sir. And the prices reflect that.
Okay, can I hear a motion?
Madam Mayor Pro Tem, I'd like to make a motion to approve the additional phases 2 and 3 for the Cortez Public Library and Service Center remodel project. Approve the contract amendment with ME&E Engineering for engineering services in the amount of $49,913, and to authorize the city manager to sign the contract amendment.
Second.
Motion by Kiefhoffer, second by DeHaven.
Kiefhoffer.
Aye.
Dobry.
Aye.
Spruill.
Aye.
DeHaven.
Aye.
Rainey.
Aye.
Yazzie.
Aye. All right, item C, 2022 re-roof project bid results, presented by Rick Smith, General Services Director.
Thank you again. This is to put a new membrane roof on the Cortez Public Library. This is, I mentioned earlier, part of the bigger HVAC controls and stuff project. We need to have the roof repaired before we put the new equipment on there. And I could say from that walkthrough that the existing roof has had numerous leaks, but it's shrunk to where it's almost like a kid's trampoline up there, so it's time to get fixed. There again, as part of the 2022 budget, we held a mandatory walkthrough that I mentioned earlier. We had 3 bidders that were qualified, and we received 1 bid. Top line installers, $169,994 is the bid amount. And that's pretty much it. We did have the city code enforcement guy there, and he, during the walkthrough, and this is strictly a membrane re-roof. It's not a rip and replace.
Is it a 30-year lifespan on a membrane roof like that?
That has a 25-year warranty. And we're going with the white TPO, a little more, it's kind of the newer thing.
Any more discussion? Okay, motion, please.
Council, Madam Mayor Pro Tem, I move that council move to award the 2022 library re-roof project to Top Line installers at the bid amount of $169,994.
Second.
All right, motion by Councilmember Rainey, second by Dobry.
Dobry.
Aye.
Kiefhoffer.
Aye.
DeHaven.
Aye.
Rainey.
Aye.
Spruill.
Aye.
Yazzie.
Aye.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Rick. Okay. There are no draft resolution or ordinances. Can we have the city attorney's report, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor Pro Tem and Council. Been a busy couple weeks reviewing contracts, involved specifically in some items looking at options for refinancing some of the city's debt. or resolving the debt. Looking at some options for, as Judge Padilla mentioned, for sentencing and useful public service, doing some research on that, and just a number of contract reviews involving and ordinance drafting. We're looking at possibly coming before you to amend the ordinance for graffiti, and that is something I've been sitting in on. Doing a lot of work on items that really aren't for public discussion, and if anybody wants to meet with me individually to talk about some of that, I'd be happy to. But otherwise, nothing to report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Patrick. Next item on the agenda, City Manager Sanders, will you provide your report?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, Mayor and Council. Good evening, everyone. The following is my report for the current term. First one is our SERSA audit, and as a reminder, SERSA is our risk pool, and so basically an insurance coverage. Wanted to report to Council, we just received the results of our 2021 SERSA loss control audit on our training and adherence to best practices. We received a score of 103 out of a possible 100 points, and we got a little bit higher due to the fact that we earned some extra credit for our HR staff having attended some SERSA training. We plan to earn some extra points next year as well. What this really means is we earn monetary credit in our loss control account that we can help to lower our premiums or help fund training. Last year, this helped us purchase materials and incentives for our employees at our health and safety fair. I wish to thank our Human Resources Department for their hard work and skill in keeping us in compliance with best practices and saving money in the process. Tree maintenance. I met with the Parks and Recreation Director as well as the Public Works Director this afternoon and helped solidify their plans to reestablish the city tree maintenance program. A comprehensive plan has been developed by them to address this issue in the next budget cycle at a relatively low cost. This would be almost all existing money. They're taking some preliminary steps to use our existing resources, but the reality is we are currently in a reactive stance and only dealing with problem trees as needed. Our goal is to transition to more of a proactive stance so we can develop and maintain a coherent tree management plan that best fits the needs of our community. More to come on this. Council, this is something that will be part of our budget discussions. This actually is a really important topic and something we need to pay attention to. But I think we've got a pretty good plan for you. The next one is the EAA Young Eagles event. The local chapter of the Experimental Aircraft Association, aka Black Cat Aviation, which is named as a nod to the emergency landing of a U-2 spy plane at the Cortez Airport in 1959, is hosting what's called a Young Eagles event. And this is coming Saturday, August 27th, from 8 a.m. until noon. The local chapter is comprised of local pilots from all walks of life, including 2 city employees. The local chapter is currently chaired by our airport manager, Jeremy Patton, who is largely responsible for this event occurring. This is an opportunity for youth ages 8 to 17 to take their first ride in a small aircraft and introduce them to the aviation industry. It is hoped that this type of exposure will entice interest in joining the aviation community. Breakfast will be served at no cost. Various small aircraft will be present and flown by local pilots, including one of my favorites, which is a Piper Super Cub. And if you've ever seen the yellow aircraft flying around, that's the Piper Super Cub that is owned and operated by a local rancher who's the pilot. This is a tail-dragging aircraft that is designed to literally fly slow and low in various terrains. So if you have children that age or if you're just interested, we strongly encourage you to come out and participate. Graffiti abatement. Council, I passed out a pamphlet to you, and that's just a draft of what we're preparing in a little better form. The graffiti abatement team has worked very hard to address the graffiti problem in the city during the past several weeks. At this point, all the graffiti that we are aware of on city property has been abated, and we are ready to abate it again as soon as it occurs. We've already had some reoccurrences. We're right on it and clean it right back up. The skate park is in the process of being painted over. We know that other small examples of vandalism still exist in public spaces, and we'll be addressing those as soon as possible. Of the 52 private properties in the city where graffiti is known to have occurred, 27 have already been abated. And I'd like to invite your attention to the old dry cleaners on 5th and Market. If you were to drive by that right now, you'll see a clean building where that was an absolute disaster just a short time ago. The work continues in this area. We expect informational flyers to go out with the September water bills, and we expect to approach council in the near future to seek an ordinance change, as our city attorney just mentioned. There is a noticeable decrease in the amount of graffiti blight in our community, and I hope that you all are noticing it too. This is really good for everyone, and I'm asking the property owners and the residents of the city of Cortez to please join us in taking back our city and not tolerating this blight when it occurs. If you see something, say something, and take steps to keep our city beautiful. Then I'd like to announce a couple of promotions. For the past several months, Lyle Bear has been serving as the interim park superintendent, and Lyle Thega has been serving as the interim golf course superintendent. These jobs were posted publicly for several weeks. Interviews took place this week, and those two individuals have been selected to serve as permanent replacements for their predecessors. I would like to thank them for their demonstrated skill and exceptional dedication during these past several months, and I congratulate them both on their promotion. And that is my report, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. Any questions for me?
You go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to ask about the graffiti abatement program. Is there, or could there be an educational aspect to it in the works for like middle school and high school, or even down to upper elementary, to kind of say, you know, these are the consequences of graffiti, this is what it looks like, and we're on top of it? And unless I'm mistaken, haven't some kids been in trouble essentially for, like, they've been caught doing graffiti? And
we would be hard pressed on that last point there, but I would just point out, this is one thing I like about our council. You guys are always adding value. That's one piece we haven't talked about, but I think it ought to be. This is a police department initiative, and we'll be discussing that, and I think absolutely there's ways we can do that and should. So thank you.
And are you painting over the entire skate park? Or are you leaving some of the murals? And
Yeah, we're making it a blank slate again.
okay, I think when we kind of spoke about that before, it was sort of a public place for art murals or whatever. Is that still the idea?
Yes, but as I have discussed it with Creighton Wright, our Parks and Recreation Director, right now it's really got out of hand. It went from art to not art. In fact, it went from art to quite inappropriate. So right now, for the rest of this year, it's an art gallery that's not going to be used. How's that? And then next year, as we perhaps some of this education we can do will help with some of that. You know, and we even have a council member that did some fantastic art in there. Unfortunately, it's gone right now, but that's to be expected. I mean, it's not something that's meant to be permanent. That's ideally what we'd like to see, but the reality is you know, it seems like a few wreck it for the many rather often. So.
Okay. I have two things to add. I think if we do venture down that route again when it comes to bringing in local artists, that the whole sections need to be filled, the whole thing, no white space. And I do want to add too, because I ran into somebody who's a member of like the skateboarding community. He mentioned that when the skate park was painted over, that metal strip around the edge was also painted over, and that is creates a dangerous, like, it's supposed to be slick so that skateboards can catch it or like can slide off it, I guess. I don't know anything about skateboarding, so I would just say that maybe consider not painting that part if possible.
I will pass that on to Mr. Wright. If I can just point out, I think that might have been an accidental consequence because the rest of the paint was made to not be slippery so that their wheels would attach.
Yeah.
So let me talk to him and see what can.
Yeah, maybe just consult with somebody who is a member of the skateboarding
Okay.
community.
I think that'd be easy
Yeah.
enough to do.
I mean, I don't know anything about it, but, okay. Thank you. Next, we'll move on to number 11, City Council Committee reports. For the mayor's report on the workshop, item A, in the workshop, we had 6 more presentations that were from the community grant recipients from the last year, or I guess technically this year. And those presentations were from the Chamber of Commerce, Cortez Farmers Market, Imagination Library, Hospice of Montezuma, Community Radio Project, and Communities That Care of Montezuma County. Additionally, we had a presentation from James Dietrich with Montezuma County on the pathways to Mesa Verde. Next, we had general council discussion. We discussed having a couple of council members on the review committee for this year's, or coming into next year's community grants. And we also briefly talked about the NCA, and we are going to be waiting on that so we can get some more information. So item B, other board reports. What have we got?
Last Friday, the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board met, and I was only able to stay for the first 45 minutes of it, but the entire 45 minutes was a public input session. We had a representative from Habitat for Humanity come and talk to us about 9 lots that they're developing on the southern end, southeast end of Sedona Estates. And they just wanted to put on our radar that there was a section that might eventually be a good place for a park in that neighborhood because it wasn't developable. But that was part of the discussion. And then a much longer discussion was regarding football practice on the baseball diamonds that are north of the rec center. And then some of the other things they talked about after I left were the skate park, and Creighton asked for some input on the 2023 budget priorities.
Oh, I was just going to say the library board was canceled because of some staffing issues.
Okay. I'm still waiting to hear about when the Youth Advisory Council restarts. But I wanted to share, so I did not have a meeting this last month, but I wanted to share about an upcoming event on September 10th from 9 to 11 a.m. There will be what is called the Rise Southwest Suicide Awareness Walk. This is the first year that it's happening. It is hopeful that this will be an annual event and is a place for people who have lost loved ones to suicide to come and be with other people and to build community and to gather some resources. There will be resource tables. There will be 2 presenters. There will be free breakfast, and then at 10 o'clock, everyone will walk on Montezuma to the library and back, and that'll be that. That'll be that event. So we invite anybody here that would like to attend. And that is my report. So number 12, other items of business. We don't have an executive session today, but we did have some conversation during our workshop, again, regarding the Community Grant Selection Committee. So we are, this next item is regarding that matter. And I think we had decided that Matt and Dennis would be willing to be the council members for that committee with Rachel as an alternate. Is that still good, or do we need to further discuss? Okay. Can I hear a motion on this?
I'd like to make a motion for Council Member Kefauver and Spruill and Mayor Medina as an alternate to be the members for the for the council grant program committee.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Dobry, second by DeHaven.
Rainey.
Aye.
Spruill.
Aye.
DeHaven.
Aye.
Kiefhoffer.
Aye.
Dobry.
Aye.
Yazzie.
Aye. Okay. Moving on to section 14, our second public participation. If anybody would like to make a comment, you're welcome to fill out a card and put it in the little box. There is no limit to the number of speakers and no overall time limit. Speakers have a time limit of 3 minutes per person, may only speak once, and may not cede time to another commenter. Okay. We'll go ahead and close public participation, and at this time we can do adjournments. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by DeHaven and seconded by Rainey.
Dobry.
Aye.
Kiefhoffer.
Aye.
Spruill.
Aye.
Rainey.
Aye.
DeHaven.
Aye.
Yazzie.
Aye. Thank you, everyone.